Well, you know, for a long time, we couldn't say anything if we had a client that was going to do something inappropriate. And our responsibility was to keep our mouth shut. And it was like that for a long time. It was like that until basically the 90s. You remember the 90s, right, Sean? When the action hero Will Smith was just a geeky Fresh Prince of Bel-Air? And when the geeky Amy Farrah Fowler from The Big Bang Theory was the even more geeky Blossom?
Absolutely. I'm going to call Audible here. I'm going to call a timeout. I'm going to call you out for Blossom. How in the world, all the shows in the 90s, did you come up with Blossom as being, how would you remember that show? I looked it up last night. It is 85th of 90 shows in the 90s. I think everybody else is wondering about that too. So I created a poll, and we're going to figure out, we're going to get to the bottom of this Blossom thing right now. I know we got some methods to get to. We're going to do a quick poll right now. What would make Stuart think of Blossom? Did his family lose remote control on the TV and the channel was stuck on NBC from 1991 and 95? The Australian NBC was running nonstop Blossom marathons last week. That must have been it. You have no idea, but you'll pray for him, and we all should. Or, what are you talking about? I'm watching Blossom right now. There might be 2 or 3 Blossom. We have 2 Blossom fans right now. I'm wrong.
Most people say, I have no idea, but I'll pray for him.
Well, that's really the
That's
most.
great.
Because really, you do need prayer. You go call your buddy, the Reverend Al, and work on you with this Blossom thing. Because, all right, we're going to get back to real CLE.
Why did I say the 90s? Because the 90s also brought us Enron. And for those of us who remember what happened at Enron, we had our good friends Jeffy and Kenny, Jeff Skilling and Ken Lay, and they did a whole lot of really, really bad things, right? Terrible things. And if any of our listeners are in Texas or in Oklahoma, you're probably still feeling the effects of Enron. They did all kinds of terrible things, drove the company into the ground. I can give you a whole list of what it was, but we don't have time right now. But the point is that in doing their dastardly deeds, there were a whole lot of lawyers who knew what was going on. And they knew it was going to create a tremendous amount of devastation, but they couldn't say anything because confidentiality didn't give any exception for financial crimes or frauds. Well, Congress didn't like that too much. Congress turned to the American Bar Association after the fallout from Enron and said, hey, lawyers, you knew what was going on. You didn't say, at least some of you did. You didn't say anything about it. And what are we going to do about that? Well, we want to go ahead and regulate you. And they created the Sarbanes-Oxley Act, and one part of that regulates lawyers to go ahead and who represent people to the SEC. It regulates lawyers and when they have to go ahead and reveal certain information. They wanted to go further, and they wanted to create basically a noisy withdrawal. They wanted to require lawyers to have to withdraw from representation in certain instances where financial crimes or frauds, and then basically give a little wink, wink, nod, nod, nudge, nudge to the government to say, hey, I'm withdrawing for, quote, professional considerations. That's their noisy withdrawal that says, come on in, boys, and take a look around. Well, the American Bar Association didn't like that. Between Congress and the ABA, they went ahead and created some sort of compromise, and the compromise was exception B2 in Rule 1.6, B2 and 3. So, if you're going to prevent a client from committing a crime or fraud that's reasonably certain to result in substantial injury to the financial interest or property of another, and in furtherance of which the client has used or is using the lawyer's services, you may reveal confidential information.